While everyone's getting situated, I'm going to read a quick biography about everyone that we have over here on the second panel. First, we have Lisa Carone, who's all the way at the end. Lisa's entering her 6th season with the Lakewood Blue Claws. She's a graduate of Wagner College and majored in marketing and Spanish. During college, Lisa worked for The Late Show and David Letterman. In September of 2006, she was hired as a special events manager, co-managing concerts, festivals, baseball camps, flea markets, and conference room events. More recently, Lisa was hired as the director of inside sales, managing the 3 internship programs the Blue Claws offer. Lisa was named the South Atlantic League's 2010 Female Executive of the Year. Next, we have Rex Gary, who is in the bathroom but will be here shortly. Rex Gary is the co-founder of Turner Gary Sports in 1991 with Jim Turner. As an attorney with an extensive litigation background, Rex has negotiated some of the industry's most significant contracts and is an industry leader in the preparation and presentation of salary and arbitration cases. Gary's clients include major leaguers Brad Lidge, John Maine, David Bush, Mike McDougall, John Lieber, and Villanova's own Matt Caesar and Kyle McMinn, who's here with us today. Next, we have Villanova head baseball coach Joe Gaudry. Over the past 9 years since becoming the head coach of Villanova baseball program, Joe has built a team that is consistently among the best in the Northeast region. He owns a strong career record and has led the Wildcats to an average of more than 26 victories per season, where the team has had a better than .500 record over these 9 years. The Wildcats continue to mold the future of professional players, and 4 players were recently chosen to the Major League Baseball Association draft. Another panelist we have with us today is Kevin Mulvey. Kevin Mulvey is an American professional baseball player for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He has previously played for the Minnesota Twins. Mulvey was selected by the New York Mets in the 2nd round, 62nd overall, of the 2006 amateur draft out of Villanova. While at Villanova, he tossed a no-hitter against UConn on March 26th of 2005. Mulvey was one of the players included in the Johan Santana trade between the Mets and the Twins, January 29th, 2008, which Mr. Rico mentioned before. And lastly, we have Gene Shaw. Gene Shaw is a retired Major League Baseball first baseman and is currently the Philadelphia Phillies regional scouting supervisor. He played during 2 seasons at the Major League level for the Phillies. He was drafted by the Phillies in the 4th round of the 1991 Major League Baseball amateur draft out of school here at Villanova. He was also named Collegiate All-American that year by the ABCA, along with former teammate Mike Neal. Shaw played his first professional season with their Class A Batavia Clippers in 1991 and his last season with the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Red Barons in 2002. So how this panel will work is I'll quickly go through one question for each of the panelist members, and then we'll have some time for some questions from the audience. The first question we have is for Lisa Carone. As manager of the internship program for the Blue Claws, what type of advice would you offer any of our audience members who may be interested in breaking into the field?
Great. Just to give you guys a little background about my start in the baseball industry, I actually graduated from college. During college, I worked 2 years in New York City for The Late Show with David Letterman. How I ended up with that job was a family friend had worked for the New York Yankees, and she then had worked for, she was currently working for The Late Show with David Letterman. I wanted to get into the entertainment field. I was majoring in marketing and business, and I decided that, hey, why not? Dave Letterman, New York City, I might as well try the commute. So I did that, and it really gave me a passion for the entertainment industry. And after I graduated from college, I knew I certainly I couldn't go home, and my dad would not have been proud with all that money that he had spent for college. So I said, I got to figure something out. So I applied for a position within. It was probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from my house, and I was fortunate enough to get a summer internship with the Blue Claws. I worked very, very hard, sacrificed a lot of money, which I know that, you know, certainly we heard that in the first panel, and fortunately I was hired at the end of my internship in September as special events manager. The best advice that I could give for you guys is to make a sacrifice out of one of those years or whatnot when you guys are home, instead of working at a bar and bar backing or, you know, making pizzas or whatever it is to try and apply for a position with something that you want to learn and that you're going to be passionate about, and get experience and put it on your resume, and do it during college, because when you guys get out of college, you want that job. So get your experience during college. Get it your sophomore year, your junior year, your senior year. I did it my senior year. And again, it's all about building your network of people. You never know, the person to the left or right of you could be the next general manager of a team, could be, you know, the next Joe Buck or whoever it may be. So make sure you guys keep in contact with each other. But then again, don't burn any bridges. I actually, my group of interns just started 2 weeks ago. And before one of my interns even walked through the door, I had an email in my inbox from another South Atlantic League team saying, "She committed to us in the fall. I hope she steals something from you." You know, just saying, just joking around, because she had already burned a bridge before she even walked in our door with one of our fellow teams in our league. So that's the best advice that I can give you guys. But it's if you wanna you know, be passionate about something and work in baseball, I would definitely do an internship. So.
Thanks, Lisa. And other panelists, just like Lisa did, please feel free to give a little bit of background about how you got involved as I ask you your question. The next one is for you, Mr. Gary. Knowing that baseball teams are trying to obtain players at a good value, how do you as their agent try to maximize the value of the player's contract?
Well, I think it starts with convincing ownership not to listen to Rob and Michael. And that's the best way to start. But backing up, how I got into this business, I was fortunate, and I wake up every day feeling fortunate to be in this business, representing young guys like Kyle and Matt Caesar and Brad Lidge, and we represented Ryan Sandberg through his career, and we represent about 50 professional baseball players. I'm a lawyer, and I look back on my very first day, the first weekend in college, and it was a fraternity party, and I had bad allergies, and right in the middle of the party, I had a bloody nose, which is not a good look your first week in school. So I walk away, I'm lying on the ground, I look up, two guys walk over to see if I'm okay, and one of them was a guy named Jim Turner, who became a very good friend, and about 15 years later, is working for a sports agent, and they needed somebody to represent their players in salary arbitration cases in baseball. He knew I was a lawyer, knew I had a passion for baseball, knew I had litigation experience, and said, "Would you like to represent our clients in salary arbitration cases?" And it took me a second to say yes, and that's how I got started. And a few years later, he and I started our business, and it's been great and a very rewarding 21 years. How to maximize the value of players? I think it begins first with knowing your player and knowing the market. Our company is designed, we're pretty close-knit. We're not a large company. We've kept about 50 clients pretty much throughout our whole career. And personal attention is really important to us, and we're really fortunate that the kind of people we represent are people we really enjoy. So you have to know your client. You have to know your client as a person. You have to know their strengths as a player, and that's where it starts. Then you have to know the marketplace. In a free agency situation, as John certainly knows, it's like a game of musical chairs, and you want to make sure that you get a seat at that table. So you need to know who are the other free agents out there that do what your client does, where your client ranks among those free agents, looking at the personnel of the club, where is there a good fit? Could be a ballpark, could be right-handed or left-handed pitching that they need. And you have to study those factors. And for instance, in a circumstance where you're talking with a New York club, you need to make sure that New York is a place where your client would be comfortable competing. So you have all those factors that you study, and you approach the club, you market your player, and convince the club that this is the right fit. Agents many times make a mistake when they undervalue their clients, but it's almost a greater mistake if you overvalue your client, and the end result is there is no seat at the table. And you see it year after year where players that you think should find a job or should find a level of income, far above, where they end up, many times, it's a function of perhaps somebody valuing their client. And so that is really important. Your obligation, is to that player, is to that client. And it's first and foremost, and I think sometimes some of us let our egos interfere with that process. One example of this circumstance, and again, John was involved with this. One of my clients, my longtime client, one of my favorite people in the world is Chad Bradford, who you all may remember from Moneyball if you saw it. Well, Chad isn't quite as naive as he may have been portrayed there, but he's a fantastic guy, and he went through a great career with Oakland. At one point in time, he ended up with the Mets after basically the 1 year where he had an injury issue, and had a really, really good year with the Mets, and had a great playoff with the Mets. People saw him on TV, which is a great thing in the postseason, and he becomes a free agent. Well, New York valued him. They valued him a lot, but they had other guys that could do what he did, and Chad became a free agent. Ultimately, the Baltimore Orioles, who had a dismal season as a result primarily of a bad bullpen, they came calling, and they were desperately trying to build their bullpen. And it turned out to be a perfect match, and Chad hit the free agent market and had a dream of a contract, and it was a great fit between he and Baltimore, and the guy had a great career. But it's really a matter of knowing your client, knowing the marketplace, finding the right club, and convincing that club that this is the right fit for them. And again, I wake up every day, and I love going to work. I love working for guys like that, and Brad Lidge and Matt Caesar, and I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is for Kevin. Kevin, are you happy with your decision to attend college rather than signing your contract right out of high school? And what advice would you have for someone who finds themselves in a similar situation?
First, I just want to say thanks to Nick and Tom for having me. It's an honor to be here. Secondly, you all look young. Everybody here, I feel old. I've been blessed with the opportunity to play baseball, and I'm more than happy with my decision to come to Villanova. The only thing that matters is networking. If you guys don't get these guys business cards, you made a mistake. All right? That's all that matters, is not what you know, it's who you know. Like I said, I was blessed with the opportunity to play baseball, and from a business side of going in out of high school or going into college, I left some money on the table in high school to come here, but I, again, got lucky and got more money out of college. But it's definitely wise to go to school and get your education, and I would advise anyone in the same situation do the same thing, unless we're talking like $2 million. Then it's a different story. But that's what I got for you. Please, network as much as you can.
Great, thanks, Kevin. The next question is for Mr. Shaw. Many will attribute the Phillies' recent successes to dealing promising young prospects for already proven stars. How are the Phillies so successful in acquiring and developing so many prospects?
Well, the first panel, I think they alluded to something. Part of my job is trying to elude them all the time, because they're the ones with the checkbook. And a lot of times when we have a player that we would like to try to bring into the organization, the ownership is the one we try to get to the most. Mr. Giles is a big component of doing that. In between, there's always people that, David Montgomery, that we have to deal with budgets. So a lot of what we do, we're analysts. We try to go out and evaluate the amateur market and the pro market and put a dollar figure as to what it's going to take to bring these players into the organization and what value they have for us. On the other side, it's the business side that they have to set budgets for us to work within, and it's a balance between the two sides trying to come to an agreement, as well as the other side with the agents trying to make sure that we can get everybody on board. And in doing that and being fair to both sides, usually it gives us a chance to bring as much talent into the organization as possible. Currently, Phillies fans here, Giant or New York fans, either way, we look at it this way. I mean, we've developed a core of players that have come through our system. when I first started on the scouting side, it was 2003. I just came off the field. When I first started, we weren't very good. We were still in Veterans Stadium. The new ballpark was being built, and with a lot of the work that the people have done on our administrative side has given us the flexibility to raise our payroll. And at this point, we're really feeding the major league team. Where with our payroll where it is, it's kind of hard to feed one side and the other side. You can't burn the candle at both ends. So we have to get creative in certain aspects and try to continually develop that talent to give Ruben Amaro, our general manager, pieces that he can trade or pieces that are able to come through our organization and fill in gaps that we might have at the major league level. What we do is not an exact science. We make a lot of mistakes. There's an attrition rate to the players that we bring into the organization, but at the same time, our job is a little different than this side, is that we're always trying to move forward. We're looking 5, 10 years down the line, and we're constantly, tomorrow morning I'm on a plane at 8 o'clock in the morning. I spend about 200 days on the road a year, going all over the world, United States, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Europe, China, Australia, trying to develop the market of players that we're going to bring into the system. And, at this point, we're always looking forward. We don't want to stop. And it's, Jordan Ellis is a player that we evaluate, Kevin Mulvey, Kyle McMine. We see all these players, and we just continually try to bring as much into the system as we can and give the pieces to Ruben Amaro to either make a trade or our development people to try to develop it through our system.
Thank you. The next question is for Coach Godry. Coach, being that college baseball has a smaller front office than do professional teams, what kinds of responsibilities do you have, and how are you able to manage them effectively?
Before I answer your question, to give a little background, I've been the head coach here for going on my 10th season. I've been very fortunate to deal with a lot of people. A lot of former players are here. I have a lot of current players, and I commend the people that made the decision to come to Villanova. Villanova has a tremendous upside for you while you're here, and as we tell our recruits all the time, it's a degree that travels with you. It'll stay with the rest of your life. It's no matter where you go, you never have to explain that degree. My background, just starting when I got into coaching, I finished up playing at Colorado State. Professional baseball wasn't in the cards for me. I was fortunate enough to be able to come back actually at the University of Pittsburgh through a scout from the Philadelphia area. Got me a grad assistant position. I finished my undergrad degree at Pitt, worked for Bobby Lewis, retired after a 35-year career. I met George Bennett, which was the coach right after the great Larry Shane. I was an assistant. 91 was my first year at Villanova. I was fortunate enough to coach Gene Shaw, was a hitting coach, won the Big East Championship. After 2.5 years as an assistant at Villanova, I had an opportunity to be the head assistant at New Mexico State. Was able to travel out there, get my master's degree in marketing. After New Mexico State, I actually got out of baseball a little bit. I took a position with Brown & Williamson Tobacco. I moved to Salt Lake City. And Tim Esme was the head coach at the University of Utah. He's now the head coach at Arizona State. Offered me the best job in America. He offered me the volunteer baseball coach. So, Rod, you got the best job in America. I was able to stay in baseball. I was able to kind of, show up, and it was just about that. It was just about baseball and the X's and O's. At that time, George Bennett was getting ready to retire. I had an opportunity to come back as associate head coach, and then went on to become the head coach of Villanova, and here we are today. 20 years later, I also got to recruit and sign and have Kevin Mulvey play for me too, and it's a real honor to be on a panel with both Gene and Kevin as I look down the generations of players I was able to coach. So to answer the question, college baseball and in relation to the other panelists, I took some notes down, and basically if you look at the head baseball coach or really any of the coaches in any of the sports, it's my responsibility is basically the CEO of that program. Okay, and when I break it down into categories in relation to the other panelists that are here tonight, it kind of starts out as the general manager. I'll deal with the Big East office. I'll deal with the NCAA. I may travel to meetings about rules. We just had a major turnover with bats, and I had to fly to Indianapolis and listen to people talk about aluminum bats. Was in Providence, Rhode Island. We're talking about schedule. We're talking about Houston and Central Florida coming in the league, and we're talking about them playing in Plymouth meetings. So it's it's a lot detailed as far as working with the conference. Scouting. I oversee the recruiting as far as the players that we're bringing in. And if you look at scholarship opportunities kind of as a payroll, we have X amount of dollars that we can spend within our program, and that changes. Year to year, that changes when a guy like Kevin leaves his junior year for the draft, or Kyle McMine leaves Villanova his junior year to go play pro baseball. Free agency, we look at walk-ons and who we can get to come to the program, who goes through the tryout system that latches onto the ball club, and how long they stay with us. Program philosophies, you put together goals, you put together rules, you talk about what your approach is to your offense, to your pitching staff, to your weight room staff. You're trying to work with budgets. We had 2 CFOs of Major League Baseball teams here. There's X amount of dollars, what we can do, what we can't do, what we would like to do. I negotiate contracts. This year we opened up with Arkansas. We had to negotiate a $16,000 guarantee for us to go to Little Rock, Arkansas to open up our season. And you kind of weigh that into maybe going somewhere. Maybe the road's a little bit easier, but it costs you 100% to go to that venue. Talk about facilities, where to practice, when to practice. The dealings with game day and how you get the ballpark ready. As a manager, the first thing that I tell everybody is, I talk to people, what makes a good manager, or head coach, as they say in college, is it's hiring dependable people. It's hiring reliable people. Rod Johnson, I had mentioned, has been with my staff for all 10 years I've been here. Jim Carone's my pitching coach. He's the little brother of Lisa Carone right here. I have Darren Spink. Darren came on as our hitting coach this year. He works with some guys professionally, Ryan Howard and David Freese, maybe some names that you're familiar with. You're talking about dealing with the players. I'm the psychiatrist, I'm the priest, and I hope to be a good mentor to people. As far as that's concerned. The few hours I get to deal with a day are just the X's and O's. When that first pitch is made and that last pitch, I deal with the X's and O's. Marketing. Alumni affairs is a huge deal in my job responsibilities. I constantly are working to raise the interest level, within our alums and former players, and creating endowments and creating other monies that allow our program to do different things and to kind of compete with the Louisvilles and the Notre Dames and the South Floridas that we have to compete with in the Big East. Promotion, I have promotional meetings today just about what we're going to do on weekend series out at Plymouth meeting and different events that are going to go on during that time. I need to promote things within the university with Father Peter, with the athletic department, making sure that baseball stays on the front burner. That's something that I deal with on an everyday basis. As an agent, usually I'm the first level contact, with a Rex Gary and one of my players and their family. I try to bridge that gap of making sure they're getting to the right people and that they and my player gets in the right business situation with the right person, like a Rex Gary. I'm the first level contact, with professional scouts and high profile summer league teams, promoting our players to get an opportunity to go to the Cape Cod, get an opportunity to play in New England Collegiate League, making sure that Gene Shaw comes out and he's aware of our roster and who they need to see. Draft day. I work harder, I can tell you this. On draft day is a very important day, and Gene can attest to this. I work harder to make sure that my guys get drafted somewhere between the 30th and the 50th round. When Kevin gets drafted in the 3rd round and Kyle gets drafted in the 3rd round and Caesar gets drafted in the 5th round, that's easy. They're slam dunks. I don't have to worry about those guys. I just hope they get into the right organization. But to make sure Mike Lurie gets drafted in the 50th round by the San Francisco Giants, okay? That's something that's very important to me. He lasted for a while. Now Now he's playing for Frank Bolton with the Long Island Ducks. And now he's playing with the Pirates. He played with Frank, developed a splitter, which we don't have to get into right now. Pitched for the Long Island Ducks. And then he signed a 2-year deal out of Frank's league with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, that's a very important day for me, draft days, and make sure that, those fringe guys that I'm talking to, a scouting director, I'm talking to an area scout, I'm talking to a cross-checker, to make sure that those guys get an opportunity to go on. And then the last thing, and the most important thing that's much different than the other panelists, is I deal with the academics. It's creating balance between our practices and our games to assure that 100% of my guys get their degree done in 4 years. So that's kind of, the surface of my job as far as what I do in comparison to some of the other panelists. And the big thing that I would say, for the business school, and you're in, management positions, is one, learn how to delegate and know how to network. Okay, that's extremely important. You need to surround yourself with the right people, and you need the people that are surrounding you that have a constant and positive message that's going out, and a consistent message that's going around the people that are working for you and working with you.
Thanks, Coach. We're running a little bit short on time, but we did want to give the audience the opportunity to ask one question if someone in the audience does have one for one of our panelist members. Someone's got to. Yes?
Actually, for Mr. Gagliardi, how ecstatic were you when the Rays came back and won the wild card season?
I have to say, it was great not only for the Rays, it was for Major League Baseball. It was probably the greatest day in a long time. I mean, I got, that next day I got emails from my counterpart at the Seattle Mariners and a few other teams saying, they put the Red Sox game on their big board, like, in a little delay. And I know there's a lot of probably Red Sox fans here, but their crowds erupted, because they wanted to see the Red Sox lose. And then they put our game on, again in delay, and crowds erupted. And I think it was just one of those things. It was great for Major League Baseball. They did a similar thing for the Cardinals, and it was one of those bizarre days. And I'll admit, and I'm afraid to admit this, but I was at the game. I left to go home in the 7th inning. We were down by 6 runs. And I'm like, I have a 1-year-old baby, so, getting sleep is free now. So, I'm driving home, and then, listening to the radio, we're scoring runs. We got, then we get like it's 7-6. When I get home, it's like, it's the 9th inning, or the 8th inning, and then, Danny Johnson comes up and, ties the game. And then the craziest thing, I don't even know if you guys realize, the little nook in that wall out there in left field is we call it the Carl Crawford wall, because Carl could reach over and get steal home runs. Well, he's the one who fumbled the ball in left field against the Orioles, and Lumberry hits the home run, in left field. So it was one of those, talk about divine intervention, or it was bizarro. It definitely was a great day for baseball and a great day for the Rays.
All right, thank you.
One little note, a lot of you guys are asking about getting into baseball or any major league sport. There's a website, Teamwork Online. I mean, all teams post, their jobs out there. I mean, from major league office down to, you have NBA teams, NFL teams, they're all out there. I mean, I have recruiters take me out to lunch every day, but listen, I don't have to pay 25% of a salary when I can just post it on Teamwork Online, and I'll get 500 resumes. So look at that. Everyone should be out there tomorrow looking for an internship, because I have 5 internships a year, and I've never gotten a Villanova student, email me, but the interns are out there.
And Mr. Kent has something to say. Yeah.
The only thing to add to that website, it will also show you how many people have applied to let you know what your uphill battle is. I mean, that's part of the process too.
That would have saved you a trip to the winter meetings. And not that the winter meetings aren't great. A guy actually slept in front of my door. I was in Louisville, and at a 93 or so, I think that's when I pushed on the door, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm stuck in this room with the felt painting on the wall." Then the guy I ended up firing him. He went to work for me at the Wilmington Blue Ox, just down the road, and now he's with our new club down in East Texas, the Skeeters. 2 things. Mr. Kent was nice enough to get 100 copies of Sports Business Journal. If you don't know this magazine, you should know it. It has, you can't find a standings, not a batting average, nothing. But what you most likely, I don't know how many Major League Baseball players or GMs we have in this room, but we have a lot of people that are marketing and are going to get involved in professional sports. This will tell you everything outside the line. What's going on? We've got a fellow Villanovan who's got a new product. Someday he wants his product in here. Trends in the business. This is good. Pick it up. Get a subscription to it. It's not all that expensive. Second thing is that I brought a yearbook, a Ducks yearbook for every single one of you, and they're very heavy, and I don't want to drive them back to Long Island. All right? Thank you.
All right, and before we bring George up to do the conclusions, Kevin has a trivia question for another prize. This is a Troy Tulowitzki autographed baseball courtesy of Mr. Kent.
Everybody take a look up there. Everybody knows the NBA logo is Jerry West. Who can tell me who that is? You had it up first. Brooks Robinson? No. Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Mike, giving away all my auction stuff.
Congratulations. Distinguished panelists, honorary guests, faculty, staff, and fellow students, good evening. I would first like to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists for joining us this evening for a fabulous event. Thank you to Mr. Michael Kent for aiding in providing such a distinguished panel this evening. The Business of Sports Conference has blossomed into a tremendous experience for all involved. This is a testament to the hard work of the Villanova School of Business, the Villanova Management Society, and Villanova Athletics. The ability to transcend material learned inside the classroom for practical purposes demonstrates skill that these panelists eloquently personify. As students, we strive to be successful in ways that depict our strengths and passions. Let us look to these panelists for the inspiration to excel with that which we are passionate for. I hope that everybody enjoyed the spirited conversations that took place on these two panels. A special thanks to Mr. Robert Colucci and Mr. Nicholas Lee for their work as moderators during the discussion. An additional thanks to Mr. Tom Cesoro and Mr. Chris Herring for their extraordinary help and support in planning of this event. As one of Tommy's best friends, I can tell you that he has not been out as often with us recently. He's been putting a lot of work towards this special event. We invite everyone to the atrium now for a networking reception. Light refreshments will be served. And as mentioned, I encourage you all to approach these distinguished panelists as they are truly Renaissance people within the field of business and baseball. Godspeed, and God bless the New York Mets.